It's a little harder to do it from the studio. So, yeah. So here's your 7 o'clock short for Monday. And I'll give you the thumbnail. Censorship is the tool of those who have the need to hide actualities from themselves and from others. That, of course, is from the great mind of Charles Bukowski. And that is in reference to this story here. Meta is testing blocking news content for some Canadian users in response to the Liberals' online news bill. Because why wouldn't they? If they can get away with it. So, Meta has begun a test that temporarily blocks access to news content for some Canadian users on its Facebook and Instagram platforms in response to the Online News Act, a Liberal government bill. Nothing liberal about censoring free speech, but, it's 2023. It's current year. What do you expect? And Canadian publishers are not happy. No, of course they aren't. The legislation would require digital giants, such as Google and Meta, to pay Canadian news organizations if they link to or otherwise publish news content on those platforms. The bill completed third reading in the Senate on June 15th, and a message was sent to the House of Commons the same day. Liberals have said they want the bill to be implemented into law before summer break at the end of the week, ending June 23rd, which is the end of the week this week. So, why do we think the government is doing this? Oh, it's because they want to make more money, right? I mean, it absolutely couldn't possibly be because they want to censor smaller outlets that aren't on the government payroll, right? Or encourage those smaller outlets to start taking government money so that they can afford to keep they can pay through Google and Meta to stay online. No, it's absolutely nothing to do with that whatsoever. The whole point of this is really to make sure that Canadians don't have to read offensive content that would bother them. There's no reason at all to suspect that in enacting this particular bill that it would have any sort of a chilling effect on freedom of the press. One of those pesky charter freedoms that Trudeau doesn't like. Yeah. But the story continues, and I will have a look at it. So the bill completed third reading in the Senate on June 15th, 4 days ago, and a message was sent to the House of Commons the same day. Liberals have said they want the bill to be implemented into law before summer break at the end of this week. In a tweet on June 13th, Chris Dell, editor of chrisd.ca, a Winnipeg-based online news platform, said, "Unfortunately, our audience is among the 5% of Canadian Facebook and Instagram users that Meta is blocking news from in response to Bill C-18, the Online News Act. Google is testing a similar measure." In a statement issued the same day, Dell said readers had reported they could not access content posted by his outfit on Facebook. "It appears Meta is blocking some of our content, but not all of it," Dell said. So, only some. Now, I'd be very curious to wonder, or to know, what content in particular is being blocked. And the quote continues, "As a small local news outlet, the majority of our traffic comes from Facebook and Google. My hope is that an amicable agreement can be reached between Silicon Valley and Ottawa that doesn't leave publishers caught in the middle." Google had done a similar test earlier this year to block news links for some Canadian users in response to the controversial bill. Quebec newspapers have been blocked as well. Another news publisher, Paul Deegan, president of News Media Canada, said some newspapers in Quebec are also being blocked on Facebook during Meta's tests, saying the platform is abusing its dominant position in the tech marketplace. Meta has just exponentially increased opportunities for bad actors, including hostile foreign governments, to sow the seeds of misinformation and disinformation. We really need to stop using those terms. Lies and unfortunate truths would probably be the better, or truths the government doesn't want you to hear, might even be the better term, which will ultimately undo the platform, erode its own shareholder value, and undermine social cohesion. Social cohesion. Yeah, there's a principle we really ought to be worried about in a completely bent society. The quote continues, "Democratic governments, regulators, enforcement agencies, publishers, advertisers, and those around the world who value a free and plural press should be very alarmed." Sébastien Menard, editor-in-chief of Le Journal in Quebec, Le Journal de Quebec, said his outlet's news is also being blocked from Facebook. News shared by fellow Quebecor-owned properties, Le Journal de Montréal and TVA Nouvelle, are also reportedly being blocked. We launched ourselves a campaign inviting our readers to come directly to our website instead of waiting for news to come to them through Facebook, which is probably the best way to go. When your social networks let you down regarding information, come on our news website. The media outlet is telling its readers. Trudeau alleges bullying. In response to news that some French-language media outlets and smaller local news agencies are being blocked by Facebook, Trudeau said it was, quote, unacceptable and suggested it was attacking democracy in Canada. So, clearly, our Prime Minister is an absolute dolt, which we already knew, but he's also completely unaware of the law of unintended consequences. Not surprising. This is the guy who thinks the budget can somehow balance itself. And acts like it. So remember, fellow Canadians, you get what you fucking vote for. Canadians need to be Trudeau said tech companies are making skyrocketing profits while local journalism has struggled in terms of getting news out to people in ways that matter locally. Put that back. Canadians need to be able to access news. It's fundamental to their democracy. We're not going to put up with Facebook's bullying, Trudeau told reporters on June 13th. Yes, but let me translate that into the common tongue for you. What Trudeau is saying here is that Canadians need to be able to see the news that we want them to see. It's fundamental to our democracy, not their democracy. And they're not going to put up with Facebook's bullying. They're going to attempt to find some way to keep Facebook from, costing them money. Because, well, the government has spent a lot of money funding these news outlets, and really wants to see a return on their investment. Yeah. Swear to God, the 2025 election can't come fast enough. Let's see what the Heritage Minister had to say. Pablo Rodriguez, yeah, that's a very Canadian name, Heritage Minister, also said that Meta is trying to intimidate the Canadian government. Quote, when a big tech company, whatever the size is, the amount of money and the powerful lawyers they have, they come here and they tell us, if you don't do this or that, then I'm pulling the plug. That's a threat and that is unacceptable. Mr. Rodriguez, you may not be aware of this, but we have this thing called free market in a capitalist society, which, like it or not, Canada still remains. And that's a giant corporation. It can tell you to go screw yourself if government does something that it doesn't agree with when they operate from a different country. You can't do dick to stop them. Canadians will not be intimidated by these tactics, he said in a tweet that day. Let's have a look at that tweet. So I'm sure that'll be entertaining. The fact that Facebook is still refusing to work with Canadians shows how deeply irresponsible and out of touch they are. Let me now translate that into the common tongue. The fact that Facebook is still refusing to kowtow to the Canadian government shows how deeply liberal and potentially unswayable they are. Once again, this is a disappointing move from big tech, and Canadians will not be intimidated by these tactics. And I'll translate that. We are saddened to hear that we can't control an American corporation, and the Canadian government is displeased by this resistance to our tyranny. I think that's summed up quite neatly. Anyway, folks, that's going to be it for me for this particular episode. And I do realize that I have, in fact, stopped doing the Monday Media Reviews quite thoroughly the last little while. I'm thinking I may, because there are people who do it so much better than me, who are, in some cases, writers themselves, experienced writers themselves, who are much better suited to share their opinions on media. I think what I will do is I will attempt to wrap up the comic book series over the next few weeks. The Razorline reviews that I'm doing, I will finish what I start. But to say that my drive to do it has kind of evaporated a little bit would be fair. It's not that I don't enjoy doing them. I very much enjoy the pop culture stuff. But as far as constantly doing one every week, it's getting a little hard to find stuff that I'm interested in reviewing. Obvious reasons, really. Just rewatched The Eternals last night because one of Stormy's kids wanted to watch it, and I've been reminded how very much I hate current pop culture. Hopefully the pendulum swings the other way soon, and in the meantime, I may very well do a scattered one or two here and there once I finish this series. Also, I would deeply appreciate anyone subscribing to my Subscribestar. If you want to send me a one-time payment through PayPal, I'm fine with that. If you're in Canada, you can probably do a bank transfer through my email account. I'm trying to think of anything else. If you do send me an email bank transfer, an indirect transfer, use the password. Let me think. A good password would probably be either my first name, Ardent, or Lions, any number of possibilities. Just let me know in the send me an email to let me know you've sent this money. And I'm coming up towards 250. I'm working on some sort of celebration. I do somewhat owe a celebration for 50 on Rumble, so I'm going to try to combine the two. I don't think I can simulcast them, so it will probably end up being either two videos, a YouTube exclusive and a Rumble exclusive. The YouTube celebration will probably be a recorded video. The Rumble, on the other hand, will absolutely be a live stream. So, as I've done a few times in the past, I would encourage anyone who's watching me solely on YouTube to switch over to Rumble. And I will be honest, the moment those numbers switch, I will move exclusively to Rumble and drop YouTube altogether. I hate this platform with a passion because there's so much, as we saw in this story, there's so much censorship. It's just irritating. There's so many different little catches in the terms of service that I have to be very careful to avoid. The copyright stuff, I understand. And as someone who produces my own content, and sometimes my own original content, it's important to me that copyright stands. So I don't have an issue with avoiding copyright infringement. Not at all. But the way that some social media sites do it, especially YouTube, it's so preemptive that it really puts the onus on the creator to muzzle themselves quite often. Also, with profanity being an issue on YouTube, I don't make content for children anyway, but some of the content I make has gotten flagged by YouTube for its profanity, and I think that would be a fair case of ethnic discrimination. I'm an ethnic Newfoundlander. Our alphabet is 27 letters long if you include the apostrophe, and our language, our dialect, definitely includes profanity at a very deep level. There are words in Newfoundland English, that don't exist anywhere else. Mary begot, hang ashore, slug a bed. If you've heard these words said by anybody other than a Newfoundlander, by all means let me know, but I'd be very shocked if you have. Other than that, that's everything for today. So this was intended to be a short, but it's already getting close to 14 minutes. So, yeah, short-ish. Anyway, so I hope you're all having good days. I hope you continue to have good days, and rise again until lambs become lions. Good evening, good night, good day, good morning, good afternoon, Guten Tag.